And we are live. Welcome, viewers. My name is Aaron. This is trioTALKS. Let's go ahead and introduce our guest today. Welcome, Patrick. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Aaron. Thanks. How are you doing today?
Good, good. We've got a lot of new viewers here and a lot of folks that, haven't been with us before on the trioTALKS. I'd love for you to go ahead and do a quick introduction of yourself and what you do here at Trio, because people interact with you. They don't always realize that they're interacting with you on the back end.
Well, I can give a very brief tour of
Sure.
that. So I'm one of our managing partners here at Trio, and I'm responsible for a lot of different things. One being joining Aaron on trioTALKS every other Wednesday morning. But I do a lot of work with our government housing agency partners on that side, and our lenders, and I do a lot of the underwriting in terms of our property pricing, of the lease payments and whatnot. So kind of a little bit of everything, but I'm excited to be here and love being on trioTALKS and sharing with all of you, the good work that we're all doing together, and helping prospective homeowners achieve their dream of homeownership. And Trio's been a very successful, I'm proud to say, vehicle for people in terms of achieving that goal. So glad to be here with all of you. Thanks, Aaron.
I think of you, Patrick, as a policymaker and a problem solver, because people are interacting with you, but mostly on they don't realize it on the back end, right? But a lot of the decisions that you're making, a lot of the things that come out of trioTALKS and different sort of things, obviously influence what we're doing. So I'm really excited to have Patrick on today. We're going to talk about some really important things. This is going to be part one of a two-part series of how to go ahead and introduce your customer to Trio. And this is going to be talking about everything from who's right for Trio all the way into let's dive deep into the customer process and their underwriting process and what documents are needed. So we're going to kind of cover everything in these next two segments. Part one will be today. Part two will be next Wednesday at the same time. But before we get started, I do want to announce a couple Trio news things. In case you didn't join us, Patrick and I last week, we introduced that Georgia is back. So if you are a Georgia agent, you have received an email about it to go ahead and re-up your training. We're really excited for that. Really excited for you to come join us and help more people become homeowners. And what's really nice is you have received an email letting you know there's actually a free 3-hour CE class just for Georgia agents happening this Friday. So you've received an email about it. Make sure you register. It's a free 3-hour CE class. It's going to go through the entire Trio process. That way you're actually getting credit for it, right? And then go take your test. You're going to be armed and ready so you can go ahead and help a lot of people become homeowners. So we're super excited about that. Again, that is this Friday. You've received an email about it. You'll also see it in the Facebook group. So keep your eyes peeled for those. We'd love to have you join us for that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. I always think it's good to go ahead and talk to customers or talk to agents and lenders and anybody involved in the Trio process about just who is right for Trio. There's so many different options out there, and we're really here to help folks that can't qualify for that traditional home loan, but there's a lot of other scenarios too. So we kind of want to run through what all those different categories are. And as we're kind of going through each one of these, I would invite you to please go ahead and make a list of customers that you think might actually fit those categories right now, because those are people you're probably going to want to reach out to at the end of this and go ahead and introduce them to Trio. So one of the first ones that I think we don't always think about are those that are not ready for homeownership. Patrick, I think this is such an interesting one because most people feel like, oh, okay, I've got to either be a renter or I've got to be a homeowner. But there's some people just kind of starting off and seeing, is this going to be right for me, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people think they're not ready for homeownership because they feel like they don't meet they don't have enough from down payment, like you said, or they haven't been in their job long enough, their income's not seasoned, whatever there's a variety of reasons. And maybe they've tried to approach their mortgage lender in the past, and they've been told no, they've been denied. So trio's just a beautiful financing structure for those families. And so for you agents out there, that have prospective clients and customers that, have, given you feedback that, no, we're not quite ready, we don't have enough of this or enough of that. I think you should reapproach those individuals, especially those that have been denied for financing through their traditional mortgage lenders, that structure. Because trio can be a perfect fit for those families in terms of, they may have a lower credit score where they don't qualify, for example, for a down payment assistance program, and trio can provide that down payment assistance for them. So they don't have to wait. They can look at getting in now. Our applications are free, as we've said before. And so there's no harm in at least applying and seeing if you can get qualified with us or not, or see where your shortfalls are, so that you can work on those to come back. But I think, people would be surprised. There are a lot more people that are ready in terms of ready for financing for homeownership. The other side of that, though, Aaron, is, homeownership is not for everybody. Homeownership has a lot of, hidden costs, a lot of responsibility. And some people just aren't cut out for that. And that's okay. They can remain renters. And that's, there's no negativism for that, for people that just, stay in that position. But for those that are really trying to, establish themselves as homeowners and start building that nest egg of wealth, then trio is a perfect bridge for them. And so, again, that's one of the reasons we do the trioTALKS, is to help, educate everybody out there, to empower you to go out and talk to your customers and try to help them through that, to that end goal, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, trio it's a decision that somebody has to decide. Is this going to be right for me or not? And like you said, there's some folks that may not be ready for home ownership yet, and this is their way to kind of dip their toe in the pond without any sort of major repercussions, to see, is this right for me? What kind of opportunities is this going to give me, right? One of the other things we often see is lack of down payment, right? We have a lot of folks, especially folks that are maybe young couples coming in, that, don't have any sort of down payment saved up, right? And that's a very common scenario, I'm sure. And especially with, home prices going up and up, this is definitely something to kind of think about, because they're looking to maybe save between 3.5% to 20%, right? And not everybody can do that, right? And so lack of down payment is another customer that you would think, what, they might be a great option for trio in that sense. So if you have any customers in that scenario, please.
Well, and a couple of things on that too, Aaron, is that, by qualifying for trio, picking out your house that you want to live in, having us finance that for you, we lock in that home price for you for your 3-year lease term in this case. And so you can purchase early if you are able to get yourself ready ahead of that time. Otherwise, your home is going to build value over that period of time you're in your lease. And so that value that's increasing, that home value, is something that you're going to be able to use with our help to apply that towards your down payment when you're ready to buy. So again, another really great reason for trio and the way we've designed our program to help customers with that lack of down payment. And then the other thing that, I should have mentioned even before, for those that feel that they're not ready, is we do empower people with the tools while they're in our program, in our lease program, to learn how to become a homeowner, to be more effective, and to understand how to manage your home and maintain and take care of your home. So as well as if credit's an issue for them, then we have those resources available to help them, with that credit improvement, to get mortgage ready. So all of those things, but lack of down.
It's a training ground, so to speak, for customers. It's I love that. Because we don't expect when I was first a homeowner, I didn't know what to do. I was always calling my dad and asking, what do I do here? How does this happen? What do I do here? And this is a way to make sure that you have somebody kind of holding your hand and guiding you not only through the financial stuff, but through everything else that's involved as a homeowner. So it's a great
You got
way
it.
for those folks right there.
And I think on this point, just lack of down payment should not be a reason to not approach Trio for financing. So there you
Yeah,
go. Yep.
absolutely. This is one that we see more often than I think people realize. And so we have customers that have income that is too high for any sort of down payment assistance. This is an interesting one. I think this would be for, we get folks that are, have a fantastic income, but maybe their credit's too low and they just can't qualify for any sort of down payment assistance because unfortunately their income is too high, right?
And we have no income limits in our program. And
Mm-hmm.
so, the other got you for those that need down payment assistance is if their income is either too high or their credit score is too low. And so
Mm-hmm.
we can help on both sides of that for people, and we provide the down payment assistance. So
Mm-hmm.
again, we're just a great tool in that regard. And like you said, Aaron, we have individuals in our program and families that have very high income, well into the six figures. So, Trio is for everybody. This is not a, low income housing program. This is a program for financing for everyone. Our limitation is just that we have to play within the FHA loan limit guidelines. And so our home prices, have to match up with your loan limits in your area, but that's not an income issue. That's a loan limit issue. So something that you do need to be aware of. And our all of our tools on our website and our mobile app all address that when you plug in our calculators. So
Gotcha. No, that's perfect. This is kind of an interesting one too. These are customers that maybe have just started a new job, right? Or they just, haven't been in a position now, they've just graduated from college. Well, they don't have any income seasoning. They don't have that 2 years of work history that a lender is usually looking for, right?
you got it. And especially for relocation, right? It's a big one as far as that goes. And so you got it,
Absolutely.
Aaron. We don't require your income to be seasoned like the lenders do when you're trying to apply for a mortgage loan. And so with our program, you can get into your home, season your income while you're in your lease before you are mortgage ready. So it's again just another great item, if you will, to point out for people, and it's a great one, Aaron, to address there.
Yeah, think of all those young professionals out there that, could help people relocating for a new job or people just starting for a new job. These are all things that would be red flags for lenders, but are great opportunities for us to help them out using Trio. This one is obviously unfortunate, but we can actually turn this, lemon into lemonade using Trio, right? Right, Patrick?
Exactly. Yep. So, and this is a big one. We talk with our mortgage lenders that are working with our program about this all the time, and it applies to you as well as agents, because you're usually on the involved in that transaction when you get, especially on late stage denials for new construction homes, where oftentimes what's unfortunate for customers is that sometimes they don't make the best decisions when they're in the middle of getting qualified for a home loan, and it messes it up. So they end up getting a denial from their loan officer. But like you said, we can turn that lemon into lemonade in most cases, actually, by using Trio as a backup, if you will, to those. So I would encourage all of you to look at your past at least 6-12 months anyway, and even people that are what we call near quals, if you're nearly qualified, maybe not quite yet. So you should go back and re-examine the situations with those families, approach them with Trio and say, hey, I think I now have a tool that I can get you approved for home financing if you guys are still interested. So would definitely encourage you to do that. I think there's a lot of low hanging fruit out there specifically on this item alone. So
there's a lot of agents that I talk to that tell me not to introduce this to folks because they love it. They work closely with lenders to go ahead and do this. They don't have to pay for any sort of advertising, and they can work closely with their lender to go ahead and help those recent loan denials now become Trio customers. So it's something to really kind of think about. We just want to, obviously we introduce it because it gives us a lot more opportunities to help people out. So think about this. This is a great opportunity for you as an agent out there. Now, when I was in high school and college, I never thought that the type of job I chose was going to kind of, unfortunately, help me in terms of buying the right type of home or anything like that. But sometimes the type of job that you have, that your chosen profession that you are amazing at, unfortunately, can be a red flag for lenders, right? And those are usually small business owners, maybe a 1099 contract worker, anybody working on tips, right? So this is kind of an interesting one, right, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, again, just another example of where we really help the customer and the consumer out there. And I mean, you'd be surprised. We have so many, truck drivers that are, truck drivers are small business owners in their own right. Small business in general, across the spectrum of from manufacturing to technology. We've seen it all. We also see a lot of professionals too, nurses, we've seen doctors. So again, we really cover the entire spectrum out there for people. And so, one of the reasons I like to repeat that is, don't box yourself in terms of thinking what, who Trio fits, because Trio fits everybody. It's really a matter of you finding that niche for your own practice. In terms of where you can find the most opportunities to generate more transaction volume for yourselves. And this is one of those great examples where a lot of small business owners, they tie up their credit trying to get their businesses started or keep their businesses sustained, or in most cases, they hide a lot of revenue for tax purposes. And so we can work with all of that and really help the small business owner get themselves into a home. And it may require them to, make a couple adjustments in terms of tax filings for the next couple of years to get mortgage ready, and before they can head back to their, what they were used to doing. But if homeownership's their goal, they're going to make those kinds of commitments to that success, and we help them with that, of course. So, in terms of giving them the tools, yeah,
that's perfect. And folks, remember, we're live, so if you have questions, if you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or whatever you're joining us from today, go ahead and drop a comment or a question. We'd love to go ahead and answer your questions. Now, this is a kind of interesting one. Folks are going through major life changes, and definitely we've seen this quite a bit, especially in the last year, right? People are, relocating for work. They're starting new jobs. But Trio's great for customers that might be going through a divorce, right? Or maybe sadly loss of a loved one. So there's a lot of different life situations that unfortunately, right, pose a lot of questions, a lot of ifs out there. And we'd love to help those customers out that, especially, I know we're trying to help a family right now that is going through a divorce or wanting to keep the home and the family, right? And this is a great way to go ahead and do something like that for them, right? So that as the agent was telling me, they want to make sure that the kids grow up in the house that they, were born in, right? And that they're going to school in the same neighborhood. Those are super important things. This is a great way for Trio to come in and help those customers out. So those big life changes are so important, and they always pose a lot of questions, right?
And it may not, in some cases, it may not be for yourself. It may be like you're
Sure.
trying to help your children or a family member
Sure.
get on their feet. And so you'll co-sign, for them to allow them the opportunity to get into a house and kind of reset themselves on a positive trajectory, right? So, and I've seen that with especially with young families starting off, maybe have an infant and trying to get stable for their household, and their parents have come in and helped them with co-signing, for financing. So, those are some situations, but Aaron, you did you pointed it out, we have seen, unfortunately, cases of divorces, single parent households that have really been able to rebound and kind of reset themselves on a, like I said, positive trajectory with Trio. And so we've been, it's really nice to be a part of that opportunity to help people, which is really at the core of our company is we really do have a mission and a sincere mission of helping people. And that's where Trio was grounded, if you will. So
Absolutely. Yeah. One that I didn't actually create a little bubble for here, but that would be DACA and ITIN. We're seeing a lot more customers that are DACA and ITIN now starting our program. And so please, this is a great opportunity for them.
You bet.
All right, so this is kind of an interesting one. I'm starting to get more questions about this all the time from agents. These are folks that are looking to get a second home, right? And you're like, wait, I can use Trio as a second home, right? And yes, you absolutely can. So yeah. Patrick, I think you'd probably be the best example of this. How do you go ahead and make this happen?
It's the same thing as if you're looking at doing it as a primary home. You start by making an application to Trio. You find out kind of, what you can afford. And if you have an idea of where you want to, have that second home location, then you go first apply, you get approved for, understanding what you can afford. And then you can go shopping with your agent for a home in that community that you're interested in. So it's a great tool for people, especially, those that maybe live in a colder climate that want to also have a place in a warmer climate and share time through the year, or they want to, maybe a winter home up in the mountains or something that they can get away to. So, there's a lot of reasons, or they want a second home to be near, family members, but they don't want to locate there permanently, type of thing.
Sure.
So the only thing with second home though is you can't, it can't be used intentionally as a, to throw into a VRBO situation or Airbnb situation. So it does have to be, a residence home, not just a rental property, and that is something we do monitor. So.
That's great. No, we're getting a lot more questions about that right now. And then this one, we obviously, a lot of people, when they think of Trio, knowing that we can go down to a 550 credit score, they think of, oh, this must be somebody with low credit or, poor credit history or something like that. But we put it at the end of the list because there's a lot more options for Trio customers before you get to this, right? And so just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. And please realize that, we do help folks, down to a 550 credit score, but those can obviously come with some issues as well. So, trying to make sure that, or just offering Trio to the other 10 options that we just talked about, maybe before just advertising to a low credit score, is probably going to get you more business and help a lot more people become Trio customers.
Yeah, and one of the things that, Aaron, that you do that has been helpful is, we do some work with some of the credit repair companies that are out there in certain markets, and so those are also good resources for you as agents. If you know any of the firms in your communities that deal with people to help on credit repair, is you should talk to them about hey, we have a tool here for homeownership financing, and could be something to to introduce to those firms if they're not familiar with our program, and generate some business leads that way. I think would be a really good idea. So
absolutely, create a Trio system, have those customers going through that credit repair suddenly come to you when they get to the appropriate level that would be qualifying them for Trio, introduce them to Trio. They might be able to get into home ownership a lot faster than they thought, right? Yeah. So it's a great way to do it. We have quite a few agents and credit repair companies and lenders that are kind of working in conjunction and creating that Trio system that's helping a lot of customers out. So go ahead.
And the other part of that, I want to repeat again something I said earlier, is when you finance your house with us, you are in a lease. It's like a car lease in the sense of it's a lease with a purchase option, right? But we lock in that home price for you. And that price is, you are not, our customers don't chase the housing market. Once they get that, their house that they've selected financed with us and we close and they move in, they're secure in their home price. They're not having to, chase the market and forever, chase that home price that they'll never be able to afford. Instead, now they're allowing the market to work for them. And as that home price increases in value, it's awesome for them because they're generating wealth. They're building wealth while they're in their lease with us. And then we can help them use that, like I said before, towards down payment and closing costs when they have raised, in this case, raised their credit score to become mortgage ready, or seasoned their income like we talked about before. So again, and just another way to look at how Trio can benefit the customer and you as agents representing that customer in your transaction business and generating, income for yourselves as part of your practice.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take a look at 3 quick scenarios right here. We've got a young couple. They're relocating to your area. And because why are they moving to your area? Well, they're starting new jobs, right? And unfortunately, they don't have any sort of down payment assistance saved. I think this could kind of be the first-time home buyer, right? This would be the scenario for many first-time home buyers, right? Young couple relocating, starting a new job, no down payment saved in any sort of way, nothing saved, right? This is a great example where Trio can obviously help them out. Let's go look at scenario number 2 here. Hello, what happened there? All right. Scenario number 2 is a small business owner. And, Patrick, I'm going to let you kind of take this one away because you said something really nice when we were talking earlier about this one. When small business owners are trying to get their business off the ground or they're really working hard to make it thrive, what are some things that happens, unfortunately?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they have to, use their credit card to finance some inventory or maybe repairs of their business or to expand their business, right? So when they do that, it may impact negatively their credit score and drop it down. And so in some of those cases, they may not be able to qualify for a loan. And the other thing I had mentioned earlier is that oftentimes with small business owners, they tend to, shield their income to a degree for tax purposes. And so, in that case, they're reporting a lower income than they really are making. And we can work with them and help them use that true revenue, that true income they're actually making, in order to increase their buying power, if you will. So, in this case, the gentleman, his credit score was lower. He didn't qualify for down payment assistance because of that with the programs out there. And, he didn't have the down payment necessarily. And so all of those ingredients combined allowed him to use our program and help get him financing to, complement his small business and give him that stability and for his family and owning their home. So it was a really good story there. And it's a great scenario.
And we see this a lot, right? This is a very common thing right here. And scenario number 3 is one that we're starting to see a lot more of now. These are empty nesters. They're looking to downsize and they maybe want to keep their first home, right? So in these sort of scenarios, Patrick, let's say they're wanting to keep their first home, but they're wanting to downsize and get into a smaller place, something maybe, a little less maintenance, right? But maybe closer to their children in any sort of way. What can they do with that first home?
Well, with the first home, since they're not financing that with us, right? They could actually rent that out. That's not a problem on that. If they own, and who knows, they may, in the case of my in-laws, for example, they don't have a loan on it anymore because they've paid it off over all the years. So again, it's just it's going to be a function of what kind of income are you still making, especially for an empty nester, to be able to qualify for, what payment you can afford to continue. And if you haven't been renting your primary home that you've been living in forever, then, there's no income to really report towards, towards your application at this time. So you do have to take that into account, in terms of that. But for the cases that we've seen, it's people that have the income, and then they're looking for, that second home that they've been able to afford. And we've seen a variety of different types of homes in those cases, from, smaller homes that are really like condos, townhome situations, to, another, larger home. So we've kind of seen it all, and they've used it for investment purposes too, like in terms of that second home that they plan to, they initially finance with us, they plan to purchase and then leave to their children and their heirs later on in life, if it works out that way. So, there's a lot of reasons for people to do that. But again, Trio provides a great avenue for that, and especially with the purchase option component, that, at least if they're not sure after a couple of years, they've up to 3 in this case, they don't have to buy the house at the end of the day if life changes on them even, right? But they're locked in to protect it. So as that home increases in value, it's going to, it'll probably be the right time for them to pull the trigger and go ahead and convert to ownership, because it was the right decision that they made for themselves. And maybe they want to relocate there permanently, and not just make it their second home any longer. So a lot of good reasons to consider when you approach people, to talk to them about, hey, you should maybe it's time to consider a second home for your future in 3 to 5 years. So,
and I have actually talked with a few folks before when they're thinking about stuff like this, and they're like, "Oh, I can't afford it right now because I have nothing saved up in terms of down payment assistance or any sort of down payment." But with this, you don't have to, right? So it's a great way to see if this is going to work out, try it out, and we're seeing a lot more of this, especially during COVID, as families are wanting to be closer together and trying to create opportunities for themselves. This is a great scenario right here that we're starting to see a lot of, that not many people think about, but it is these scenarios obviously do come up, and when you don't know how to answer them, now you do have an option for those customers to introduce them to Trio.
And I think that's a keyword an option, because I think for some of your more sophisticated customers out there, they'll understand what that option really means to them, in terms of it's not a requirement, it's an option to purchase, so they can see where their situation is, where the home value is at the time, as they approach towards the end of their lease term, if they're not going to make a move sooner than that. And they can play that out, and they've got time in the home, because the home price isn't going to change for them during their lease term. So it's really, it's, again, I kind of preaching to the choir here, but it's a great tool, you guys, to work with. It's just, you need to, as long as you can understand all of the ways to work with our program, and figure out a way in a niche again for yourself to, capitalize on that, as far as, a component to your business that you're already doing. It's just, it's a very powerful tool for you to have in your tool chest. So,
I want to make sure we get to these things. We're running just a little late, but that's okay. I want to make sure we get to these things. And now that we've introduced those customers that we see quite often, that we can help probably the most, how do we introduce Trio to those customers? And I think there's a couple key things right here that we, you've kind of said, and I'm just going to kind of summarize, but this is a home ownership program that provides the tools and education to help these customers get into the position to qualify for a traditional loan in 3 to 5 years. So, the customers coming to us are not qualifying for those traditional home loans usually, right? And so this is a way to go ahead and get them in to lock in that option price, right? And this is a true lease to own option where a portion of the monthly payment is actually going towards the purchase. And I think maybe one of the best things is, I was talking to an agent just the other day, is it true that our customers are earning equity while they're renting? And the answer to that is yes, they are doing that. So there's a lot of ways to kind of talk about Trio. Those are kind of like the high level views, but those are the things that are super important. It's locking in the option price when, as we know, option prices for homes are skyrocketing right now. It's earning equity while they're renting. And these are folks that are not ready for home ownership yet in terms of their finances, maybe. And we're helping them out, providing all the tools and education to get them to that right place. I also want to point out we do have explainer videos. So if you need any sort of quick tool for social media or for a landing page, or just to send a customer on, here's how the Trio process works, or let's see if Trio's right for you, we have those available. Those are available on our YouTube channel. They're also available at thinktrio.com, as well as trioresidential.com. They're great. They're in English, and now they're in Spanish as well. So please take a look at those. They're great, great options for your customers. But I want to make sure we got to this one, Patrick. How do you introduce Trio to listing agents and builders? I want to let you take it away on this one, because this one's super important. Many times, especially as we are expanded very quickly in the last 6 months, right? We have a lot of people that are, what is Trio? I've never heard of that before. How do you talk to them and introduce them to Trio?
Trio is homeownership financing, as you pointed out before. And I think the most important thing that you can communicate to a listing agent and a builder is it provides a guaranteed close. The only item that can really derail that is a bad appraisal, in terms of if you've mispriced this home in terms of its value. That would be the only issue that could, derail a potential closing. But we're a guaranteed close. If we've approved the customer for financing and they go and negotiate with you a home that's supported by that price and that payment, and we end up, again, we use an assignment provision in the contract that you write, which assigns the contract over to us and our named entity. When we take over that and open that file with our lender for our FHA loan, that is a guaranteed financing. There's, again, the only thing is we're required to get the appraisal to support the value, and then we close. So, there's some other things, though, that you have to, be careful of. We just had one of these pop up where, the builder and their title company that they required to use, they couldn't confirm a certificate of occupancy, which delayed things, and it could have been, handled much sooner in the process, but it delayed things. So, there's some gotchas in there in terms of, but it's not us. It's not our program. We're guaranteed closing. So when you approach these parties that aren't familiar with us, first of all, we have a great resource on our website on trioresidential.com. It's a one-pager that you can share with them that explains who we are and our homeownership financing program. But again, the thing that's most important to these guys, and that what they're going to want to hear, is that, we can guarantee the close because of our financing and the way it works. We just need to make sure the appraisal supports the purchase price. That's it. And if they say no to that, Aaron, I don't get it.
What are they doing in business, right?
I don't get it. So
you can also tell them we've been in business for 20 years doing this, right? That we have an amazing positive track record for our customers actually converting into home ownership. Over 80% of them are converting into home ownership. That number is kind of unheard of. But like Patrick said, it's a guaranteed sale. It's going to increase their sales. They would love to hear that, right? It's another tool in their toolkit. And if you have any lenders out there or any home builders that you want to bring on board with Trio or introduce to Trio, and you're not feeling comfortable talking about all the ins and outs, and they have questions that you may not be able to answer, connect them to us. We'll be happy to go ahead and talk with them. You can email partners@thinktrio.com. We'll get on the phone with them that day and talk to them about the program and introduce them. And that makes it easier for everybody, because that's creating a pipeline for you in the future for any other customers that might be in that situation. And most agents say that there's quite a few customers in those situations, right? So yeah, but the guaranteed sale, that's kind of the no-brainer right there. Who would want that, right? So
yeah, you would think, right? And we've had some agents that have been super successful and locking in with with some builders in terms of, spending the time to educate them and their sales teams, and where the builders are even calling, the agent up to say, hey, we've got one here that we're not sure we're going to be able to get them qualified. We already started construction on the home. Can we send them over to you and see if we can, get them qualified? And we've been able to help in those cases and actually complete the financing. So, I know, in the markets that we've been in the last couple of years here, builders sometimes don't really care if they lose a customer because they can raise the price again.
Sure.
But, those days are I think are, not going to continue on as they have for the builders. And so the builders are going to have to come back to reality on some of that and games that they've been playing, that they've been able to play. And, but again, we love new construction. We think it's great for the customer in terms of, lower maintenance during their lease term, and encourage all of you to approach the sales offices of, for builders and, educate them. And again, the emphasis is on, this is a home ownership financing program, period. It's no different than a loan that, we're using a different lender than maybe what, they're accustomed to seeing. Mm-hmm. But it's still a loan. We're already approved for the loan. It's really a formality to get through the process. So.
Absolutely. So today, again, this is part one of a two-part series. We talked about the different sort of customers that we see quite often. Some of them that we see more often than not, and that you may not have thought about before. So it kind of expands your network and it expands your customer base. We also talked about how to introduce those customers to Trio and how to introduce listing agents and builders to Trio. So next week, we are going to talk about the customer application. We're going to talk about the underwriting process and run through what documents are needed and at what time and how you can kind of help out in that process. And we're also going to share secrets of our top producing agents and lenders, because a lot of them are doing things just a little bit differently than you might consider, and then normally your MO, and maybe you can learn something from them. Our top producing agent right now in Texas, I think she's up to 25 homes, going to be looking at 25 homes this year. So really, really exciting for that. So it wouldn't be great to go ahead and add that to your portfolio as well. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. So again, that'll be October 13th, same channel. So Patrick, thanks again for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Folks,
thanks,
again, if you have any questions, go ahead and email us, info@thinktrio.com. Go ahead and comment in the Facebook post. Go ahead and comment in YouTube or in Twitter, and we'll be happy to get back to you on that. So thanks again, everybody.
And any of you Georgia agents, sign up for the class for Friday. It's free and it's CE credit. So
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for reminding. Yeah. So again, that's Friday. You see on email about it. It's in the Facebook group. If you need that link to go ahead and register. All right, folks. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.